our traditional annual Student Achievement Awards program. And I'd ask, we'll wait for this wonderful group to come in so they can join us in the Pledge of Allegiance also. Okay, so as I said, this is our annual Student Achievement Awards, and to kind of make it a little bit special, we have this wonderful group here. We really have some of the finest schools around with very, very tremendously talented students. And at our April Town Board meeting annually, we celebrate the many truly wonderful students with our annual Achievement Awards, which will begin in just a few moments. But before we do, we're very fortunate tonight to have one of these talented groups of students here to open up our meeting. So join me in welcoming the immensely, and I heard them in the hall kind of practicing, talented young men and women of the East Islip High School's a cappella group, Fermata Nowhere. Very cute, and very clever. So if you guys would like to begin, and I just want to introduce their director, Bethany Afelt. Bethany, give them a little wave. It's hard to tell her from the students. So whenever you guys are ready, we'll have something special. How wonderful. So while they were rehearsing, I asked if I could take the time to share something about it. So Stephanie, you would listen to the pledge, and then everyone would join us in the start of the session. Is that good to you? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it Let's hear it one more time for From Out of Nowhere, from East Islip High School. I know they said they couldn't do harmony with the Star Spangled Banner, but I think I heard a little bit there. So with that, I would just ask the members of the town board to please join me at the podium. We will begin our annual Student Achievement Awards, although we have not been able to do this live for a number of years, so it's really kind of special to thank you, to be back live again. So tonight we celebrate 15 future leaders, recognize their many achievements, and pay tribute to their accomplishments across academic disciplines and community service with the return of the Town of Islip Student Achievement Awards. We'll now introduce our student honorees. I'd like to ask the proud parents and family members in the audience to please hold your applause until after each student's achievements have been read. And I will begin with Raquel Acosta, a senior at Brentwood Sonderling High School. Raquel, do you want to come forward? Raquel has dedicated herself to helping those in need. She is a member of the Interact Club, Recycling Club, and National Honor Society, and has aided in the collection of food and hygiene products for the Brentwood Sonderling High School Food Pantry. She also visits and distributes Christmas gifts to the elementary schools around the holidays, and is an active volunteer of the First Christian Church of Brentwood Food Bank. So, congratulations. So I'd ask the honorees not to go too far because we'll get a group photo of all the honorees at the end. Brentwood Sonderling High School senior Haley Ramos, if you would come forward. Haley is a member of three National Honor Societies and the Reserve Officers Training Corps, ROTC. Among the many community service projects she participates in, Haley also helps Northwell Health distribute food donations to Brentwood families for Thanksgiving. Haley also helps prepare the younger generation at the start of their academic journeys by serving as a mentor for elementary students. Haley Ramos, congratulations. And now I'd ask Councilman Guardrone to read the next group of student honorees, starting with Andres Rodriguez. Andres.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Good afternoon, everyone. 10th grader Andres Rodriguez from Brentwood Road High has for the last 4 years helped the community through the My Brother's Keeper program. And as a member of the Leaders of the Future and Student Advocates of Long Island, helps organize community parades and street cleanups, among other projects. Through his involvement with the Suffolk County Youth Council Leaders of Tomorrow, he continues to advocate for ways to better the community, all at just 15 years of age. Felicidades, Andres. Now I have the pleasure of calling Senior Estrella Rivera Rosales from Brentwood Rose High. Estrella consistently volunteers throughout the school and community. Estrella is the current president of the Mundos, a student activity club that spearheads volunteer activities. She has also helped the recycling club with collections, organized food and decor for school-hosted events, and even provided free donuts, oh, I missed that one, to the community during the Brentwood School District's tree lighting ceremony. Outside of her high school extracurriculars, excuse me, Estrella has helped Good Samaritan University Hospital by organizing Christmas boxes and food for those most in need in our community. Felicidades, Estrella. Okay, next is Noels Betus. Is Noel's here? Oh, yes. Noel? Okay. She's from Brentwood Freshman Center, remains dedicated to helping her classmates. She has helped organize school dances at the STEAM Fair and helps to design many holiday-themed events. Noel has participated in the Breast Cancer Walkathon, donated food and personal care items to the school's donation drive, and has written letters to active military members and veterans. In January, Noels was featured in Newsday for her artwork honoring Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy and impact. Congratulations, Noel.
Okay, next up, thank you very much, Councilman Guardron. Next up, we have Councilman John Cochran.
Thank you, Supervisor. Good afternoon, everyone. Chelsea Guevara, are you here? Chelsea, come on up. Just 14 years old, is a dedicated volunteer of the Brentwood Public Library, where she helps staff and patrons disinfect toys after use, makes bookmarks for visitors, assists in the creation of library mural, and serves as a bilingual translator. In addition to her dedicated service at the Brentwood Public Library, Chelsea is a volunteer to help a school collect donations for food drives, breast cancer awareness, and has made toys for animals waiting for adoption in local shelters. That's some resume. Congratulations. Our next honoree is a senior, Michael Byrne. He's from Bayshore High School. Not here. I should still read it, though, right? There you go. Senior Michael Byrne has surprised school officials when he received an award from the United Nations Association for his volunteerism and the contributions toward the UN's Stable Development Goals and his efforts for Zero Hunger, Zero Waste campaigns. At Bayshore High School, Michael is the secretary for the Future Business Leaders of America Club, student council vice president, and serves executive board for the Interact Club. He was unable to attend us tonight, but we'll make sure he gets his award. Congratulations, Michael. Next one, Valerie Espinoda. Valerie, come on up. Bayshore, I love it. I'm a Bayshore grad, thank you. A senior at Bayshore High School, has a passion for helping others in the community and has served as the youth squad member in the exchange ambulance of the Isleps since 9th grade. As she works toward her EMT certification, Valerie shadows EMTs as well as a pediatrician and is a volunteer with Good Samaritan University Hospital in the emergency room department. In school, Valerie is a member of the Junior Leadership Council, Science Olympiads, Women Empowerment Club, Math Team, Drama Club, Environmental Club, Interactive Club. Do you have any life? That's unbelievable. Congratulations.
Okay, and that takes us to, moving right along, to Councilman Jim O'Connor.
Shelley Bonilla. Shelley is a senior at Central Islip High School, has dedicated countless hours to creating school pride through her artwork. Shelley created eye-catching displays for graduates and senior athletes and has used her talents creatively for Disney Cars-themed box vehicles for children to race for prizes during the Trunk or Treat community event. In addition to lending her immense artistic talents, Shelley also serves as a member of the Action Committee at the high school. Congratulations on your award. Ashley Argote Manrique. Central Islip High School senior Ashley Argote Manrique also uses her artistic abilities to add vibrancy and joy to the hallways and events at Central Islip High School. Specializing in recreating Disney characters as paintings, she's had her artwork featured in the school's Halloween and Christmas bulletin boards. Outside of volunteering her art and time to school, Ashley also serves as an active member of the high school's Action Committee. Congratulations, Ashley. Allison Ingracia. Allison Ingracia from East Islip High School is a dedicated volunteer to her school and community, helping to organize fundraisers and activities. She assists the Islip Food for Hope Foundation, creating Thanksgiving boxes of love that are distributed to families in need, and also volunteers with the Autism Mile Autism Run and the Gavin Scott Hart organization. On top of all of her volunteerism, Allison also serves as a Girl Scout. Congratulations, Allison.
Thank you very much, Councilman O'Connor. And next we have Councilman John Lorenzo.
Thank you, Supervisor. Jesse Najera. Jesse's an East Islip High School junior, has been involved in community service since he was in the 6th grade. Jesse continually promotes and donates to various school and community fundraisers, volunteers during Spirit Week, and has provided gifts for underprivileged students during the holidays. A natural leader, Jesse has held an impressive 11 leadership positions that have helped his mission to give back to the community. Congratulations. Michael Keener. Sayville High School junior Michael Keener is a dedicated member of the Anchor Club, Peer Leadership Program, SWEEP, History Club, and World Language Honor Society. As if that wasn't enough, Michael went on to create his own club, the Need a Friend, Be a Friend Club, which serves to help socially struggling students create and build new and lasting friendships. His compassion and devotion to the students and community has truly had an impact. Congratulations.
Okay, and now we have the two final honorees from West Islip, my hometown. We begin with senior Angelina Bonanno, who's accrued over 115 community service hours through her involvement with the Girl Scouts and is a dedicated volunteer of NYPD's Columbia Association. With her passion to give back to her community and interest in teaching, she has joined the West Islip High School's in-house early childhood education program. Through the program, she volunteers with the in-house Little Lions preschool program during the school day and travels to local elementary schools where she volunteers every weekday afternoon. Let's hear it for Angelina. Well, should I say it last, but certainly not least? We have West Islip High School senior Brendan Conroy, who's a dedicated member of the Boy Scouts, where he is completing the process of becoming his troop's next Eagle Scout. What troop is that? 95. Yeah, they have a lot of Eagle Scouts. Michael's community service project involved building and implementing a drying rack for children's rain gear at the Yap Hank Learning Farm. The project involved over 150 hours, of which he served as the project manager, planning, overseeing, and guiding his colleagues through the construction and completion process. Congratulations. Okay, so we have something exciting to share tonight. So about 2 months ago, on Saturday, February 25th, Amy and Ian Steinberg were preparing to go to bed as expecting to soon be parents when they found themselves on the LIE the next morning at 2 a.m. They quickly learned the true meaning of the word soon. So eager was their little girl to meet her proud parents, she decided their arrival at Katz Women's Hospital in Queens would not come soon enough. Now actively in labor, Amy and Ian parked their car on the shoulder of the LIE in the town of Islip near the Bayshore exit and called 911. Within minutes, Suffolk County PD Officer Sergeant Justin Carey, Police Officer Matthew Siesto, Police Officer Arnold Reyes, and Police Officer Kenneth Bunger arrived on scene to render aid to the couple. Less than a minute after that, Brentwood Legion Ambulance, EMTs, Nelson Lopez, Colin Richardson, Christina Arturo, Cynthia Castenda, and Emily Cesar responded and moved Amy into the ambulance where she gave birth seconds after to a healthy baby girl, Cora Bailey Steinberg. So please join us in congratulating their proud parents, Amy and Ian, and all the first responders who helped bring new joy into the world. Congratulations. We have a few announcements, and I'll just try to get through them quickly so that we can get to the agenda. But today is Holocaust Remembrance Day, and it's an internationally recognized day marking the anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. And last April, we heard from Holocaust survivor Edith Gross. She was in this room. She really did a very compelling, heartfelt presentation on her experiences. But it was the inaugural meeting of the Town of Islip Unity Council. And her message of against intolerance and injustice was very, very compelling. And if you want to, you can go to westislipny.gov to our website, and you can see that, that interview with Edith. We're also proud to announce that we have new episodes of Get Fit with Nick, our immensely popular senior and not-so-senior workout program. They've just been released, and it's very popular. It's also on Altice Channel 18 and Verizon Channel 1982, and it just helps get everybody moving. Also, I just want to remind everyone, Saturday is Earth Day, an opportunity for all to reconnect on how we can do our part for this wonderful Earth of ours. In Islip, protecting and improving the environment remains one of our top priorities, and we're proud of the town's history, long history, with our KICK program. And this Saturday, Keep Islip Clean will be hosting its 34th annual Brook Street Wetlands Great American Cleanup event in honor of Earth Day. So all are invited to come help out. It starts at 9:30 at Milton and Brook Street. And in between those episodes of Get Fit with Nick, make sure you get out there and enjoy all of our wonderful parks, and let's celebrate Earth Day every day. So with that, we will move to the agenda. There are no public hearings scheduled today, so we'll begin. We have a couple of presentations before we go to the public. I know that members of Good Samaritan Hospital were here. There are a couple of issues that have been come up in the community. As most of you are aware, Good Samaritan has embarked upon a major enhancement program of the hospital services in a new tower that they're building with private rooms. They came before us for the necessary permits. The neighborhood was very, very supportive. The construction's been going on, but they've encountered some issues. So we've asked representatives of the hospital to come forward to give us an update on what exactly is going on. We want you to have real information, not hearsay, and I know they are working with the community, so if the representatives of Good Sam would come forward. Hi, Ruth, how are you? If you would just, for the record, your name.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity to come and present this evening. My name is Ruth Hennessy. I'm the president at Good Samaritan University Hospital, and I'm honored to be joined tonight, and I'll ask them to step forward, by our Chief Operating Officer, Mr. John McMurray, our Senior Vice President for Administration, Mr. Joseph Liacono, and our Director of Marketing and Communications, Justin Jason. Good Samaritan is closely connected to the surrounding community and its local residents. Our neighbors are our supporters, advisors, and friends. The relationships built have helped to shape both the hospital and the future of healthcare on the South Shore of Long Island. When Good Samaritan was contacted with issues related to the flood resiliency project, construction teams ceased work due to the concern for the welfare of our neighbors. From that moment, we were committed to ensuring that all received a fair and timely solution. Work resumed, but only in a cautious, conservative, and highly monitored fashion. The complex flood resiliency project has been fully reviewed by federal, state, and local authorities. Once completed, it will provide a fully resilient Good Samaritan University Hospital that is available before, during, and after a natural disaster and other incidents. Our goal is to provide a facility that all residents in the town of Islip, as well as the South Shore of Long Island, can rely on in their time of need. The hospital continues to investigate the occurrences related to issues brought to our attention. Part of that review has been to hear directly from homeowners on our western border. Good Samaritan has already met with some residents and has scheduled meetings with all residents, all additional residents that have connected with us directly, reached out to the town of Islip or engaged our contractor. So far, the hospital has received 13 such complaints, and we've met with 4 and have about another 6 of them being scheduled, and so it's a calendar issue at this point. These meetings have already provided insight into varying experiences and concerns. Residents with stated damage are given complaint documents to initiate the claim process and provided expectations and a timeline. In an effort to bring all parties to the table and ensure a timely and fair process, the hospital and its senior leadership have and will continue to host all resident meetings. Similar to the efforts over the previous 6 years, Good Samaritan continues to be committed to engaging all community members in its plans. We will work to minimize any disruptions and address potential issues with the individuals impacted. Throughout this project, the hospital has prided itself on full transparency and engagement, and we will continue. If there is anyone that would like to meet with us from Good Samaritan at this topic that we have don't already have your name or information, please let us know. Justin Jason is available to take your information, and then we will set up meetings. We would like to thank Supervisor Carpenter and the town board for the opportunity to respond this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Did anyone have any questions while they're here? Or comments? I know some of us have heard from some of the residents, and we have directed them to the hospital. We actually sent the town engineer out, but clearly this is an issue to be handled by the hospital and the contractors. But it was interesting, you know, the first thought would be that this was because of the construction, but rather it is due to the storm resiliency program that FEMA had suggested. So, all right, no questions. I thank you very much for coming down, for being transparent, and just would urge everyone, if you want to just give the phone number that they can call, and we'll post it on the website too. Justin?
Sure. So Justin Jason, Director of Public and Community Affairs, 631-376-4104, or by email justin.jaycon@chsli.org.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Again, before we go to the public portion, I'd ask our controller to come forward. There was an article in Newsday recently about the ARPA funding. We've all supported it. One of the upsides of COVID, not many, but one, was the fact that we did receive some funding. The funding that we received came with a lot of regulations. They were very, very specific on how we could and could not spend the money, a timeline for spending the money. And we've been very, very diligent, and the town board's been, very supportive, and we've been able to do things like some turf fields that were things people wanted for years that we couldn't do. So if you would just tell us where we're at, and I'd like you to kind of dispel any thoughts that anything that we're doing is not in accordance with federal guidelines to the letter.
Sure. Joseph Ludwig, Controller for the Town of Islip, 401 Main Street. To say we got a little bit of money would be a little bit underselling it. We got $47.5 million rounded. As of today, we have spent we have obligated about $14 million of that number, so it's about 30% is what we've gone through so far. A lot of the projects that we've worked on, Madam Supervisor, as you mentioned, are parks and recreation type projects. We're doing a lot of work over at Brentwood Rec Center Gym. We've done a lot of fields throughout the town. We're going to do some pickleball courts if you guys approve one of the resolutions that are on today. So we're trying to use the money through every aspect of the town. Excuse me. And the reason why we started with those recreation projects, simply put, is, as you mentioned, Madam Supervisor, there are a great many restrictions within this money that the federal government gave out. The federal government does not give out money without strings. So in the article, there was mentioned a couple of times that there was no restrictions on this money. Quite the contrary. There's restriction on every quote-unquote bucket that we want to tap into. The bucket we use, which is the worst named bucket, it's called the lost revenue bucket. And this is a calculation that we were allowed to do to come up to what we think our revenues were impacted by COVID for. Whether it's real or not is irrelevant. The federal government had to make some assumptions. That was the cleanest bucket to touch because it had the least amount of restrictions. So we were allowed to do the fields, redo the Brentwood Rec Center Gym. We were able to get some patrol bikes for public safety. Me, the greedy accountant, there was changes in accounting standards. We got software to help us do that. All these projects have been approved by the town board as they're required to. That was the easy bucket. It was easy to spend that money because we didn't have nearly restrictions that we're going to have excuse me, on every other bucket. So of the roughly $33 million or so that's left, that's what we need to figure out how we want to spend. Now, the spending of that, and we do actually have an ARPA committee. We have a meeting that's scheduled for May 1st. There's about 8 of us where we discuss all these projects. And we got the wish list from all the commissioners when this money was first set out. Like I said, we went to the low-hanging fruit first, the easy piece. Now we have to go and find out what can we do that's going to fit into specific buckets. And one great example, which we've already allocated the money for, is, and Madam Supervisor, please correct, so I will get this slightly wrong, is the money we're putting towards the CI project that we're matching with the county. Did I get any of that correct?
The sewer?
Yes.
Yep.
So that's a sewer project, again, a different bucket, but very specific on how the money can be used and how it can't be used. So if you look at the raw number, oh yes, we've done nothing. We've actually done a lot. Now we have to get into the nitty-gritty of it and really start to go through specific projects to make sure that they're going to qualify with the bells and whistles that the federal government has attached.
If I could interrupt a moment, Joe. The one thing, when I first heard about it, I thought, well, this will be a great opportunity for us to minimize some of our, budget constraints as far as taxes, if we could, across the board, have a tax cut. We're not allowed to do that.
No, so and again, that's why the lost revenue is a very badly named category, because you would think if it's lost revenue, we could keep it, because it made us whole, because we lost it. Absolutely not. The intent of this money was to put it back into the community in a variety of different ways. We, the municipality, are not allowed to keep any of it. Everything has to get spent out. We cannot save it for pension payments. We cannot pay debt service. We cannot hold on to it to make up for the revenues that we lost. We don't get to keep any of this money. It has to be paid out. Madam Supervisor, you mentioned there are specific timeframes. The projects have to be encumbered by the end of 2024, fully and completely spent by the end of 26. So it's not going to go on forever. We have hard deadlines that we have to follow through. An argument could be made that, well, why didn't you just approve all the projects now? And it kind of goes back to, not to pick on recreation, but if we gave them, just for discussion purposes, $40 million to do turf fields, they wouldn't be able to do any more than what we're doing now. The companies who do the turf fields are on contracts. They don't have a staff of 8,000 people to do 13 turf fields all at the same time. So even if we wanted to do all the money for turf fields throughout the town, realistically, we wouldn't be able to get it done in this short of a time frame anyway. So, as you said, Madam Supervisor, we have to be judicious in how we allocate the money to make sure we can actually get things done. It does not help us to start a project that's not going to be completed because it was too big. And now we run into the end of 26, we haven't paid it, we would have to pay that money back to the federal government. We will get audited. We get audited every year. That's going to be one of the projects that our auditors look at to make sure that we've hit every bell and whistle, that we've complied with every rule and regulation that the Treasury has set forth out in their very long document. I have a quick 8-page frequently asked questions. If you like, I can submit that for the record. And it kind of addresses the buckets that we have and what those sub-restrictions are to each one of those.
One of the things I don't remember hearing you touch on, or two, were drainage projects and paving.
So when it comes to infrastructure, again, very specific. Infrastructure can only be spent on sewer projects that comply with clean water, water projects that comply with clean water, or broadband. We don't do broadband. That's done by Cablevision, Verizon, and those types of entities. So we're out of that game. So really the only infrastructure we can do is water, which again, we don't really do. That's Suffolk County Water Authority, which leaves sewage, drainage. That's really the next round that we can look at to find out where we can use that money in the best spots of the town. And to your point, Madam Supervisor, in the 2023 capital program, we did not borrow money for drainage. We usually borrow about $2 million. We're going to use the money from ARPA. It's just a matter of finding the right projects to get it done so that we can meet all those bells and whistles. But to your point, when we could avoid a borrowing, we did. The debts are, the fields that we've done, those are projects we were probably never going to get to. Right? We've authorized about $10 million of turf fields throughout the town. The likelihood of any town board, on top of everything we're already borrowing, to put an additional $10 million for turf fields was probably not going to happen. This became a nice little windfall to get to projects, again, wish list if you would, that we can kind of check off with no impact to the taxpayer.
With those of us that, have a keen eye towards maximizing every dollar, it really is unfortunate that they wouldn't allow us to pay down any debt, because at the end of the day, it would have been a huge benefit to the taxpayers not to have to pay, interest payments on debt, to have been able to pay it off. But, it's like someone wins a lottery, the first thing they're going to do is pay off their credit cards.
Yes.
But we're not able to do that.
Exactly. And again, the intent of this whole plan and project, again, because the economy had stalled because of COVID. Businesses were shut down. People lost their jobs. The entire intent of this was to get the money back out. The KIT program, which was,
Right.
approved by the board, we authorized up to $2 million, all of which has gone out. All that went to small businesses as defined by the Small Business Association, again, specifically laid out in the regs sent by the Treasury. In that Newsday article, and I don't remember the gentleman's name, he made the comment that, in his opinion, the money never should have gone to businesses, when in fact that was actually a specific, a specific authorized project that could be done under the Treasury rules. So it took me 2 days to read through it all, and then probably another 2 days to understand it all, and then another 2 days to debate it with someone else who did the same thing I did. It's not an easy read. The original legislation was, I think, 180 pages or something like that. Yes, I did read it all. Yes, I stayed awake through all of it. Understanding it, though, that was really took a long time. And again, that's why we can't rush on some of these now more bell and whistle type projects. Again, the low-hanging fruit, that lost revenue bucket, it was easy to get that. There were very limited restrictions on that. We're now getting into the more specific time frame, so we have to go back and reread the regs to make sure we're still understanding them as we did 2 years ago, so that we're not doing something that's ultimately going to cost the town more money instead of less.
To give you an idea of how complicated, organizations like the Association of Towns and Government Finance Officers Association, the County Officials Association, they're constantly holding webinars and conference topics just on ARPA and, you know, what would be appropriate spending items, et cetera. It's become a whole cottage industry.
It hasn't, and what's made it very difficult, as much as those organizations have done to help, there's a lot of questions we ask that they don't know the answer to.
Right, and when they
Because the
call
feds have not been
Treasury,
out to specifically identify, and they won't until someone does it
Right.
wrong, and then we'll find out that we all did it wrong, which again, very conservative in the projects we choose to make sure we're not going to put ourselves into those positions.
exactly. Well, we appreciate all of your efforts and your team, really, because it has been complicated, but we've really been able to point to a lot that has gotten done, so we thank you for that.
Yeah, and again, I would
Any
fully expect-
questions?
And just my last little thing, you know, every project that does get approved out of our committee goes before this board, or anybody who's sitting up there at the dais. So the projects are all thoroughly vetted, reviewed, and approved by the board as required by the legislation.
Any questions? Thank you.
Did you want me to put that on the record, the frequently asked questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect, thank you. Everything you ever wanted to know about ARPA, but we're afraid to ask.
Oh, trust me, there's so much more I didn't tell you.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, we will go to the public portion. We have a few cards. Just to remind everyone, this is your opportunity to share your comments with us, not a question and answer. And you have 3 minutes. There's a clock up there, and our first speaker is Jim Schlau.
Jim, 55 years. Just some basics first. The people who built this town are long gone, along with their attitudes and values. Taxes are the price we pay for a civilized society. Civilized means following the rules. Here's your rules. See them? I've read them many times. Now, here's some pictures. I hope that you scrutinize them. I showed them to the town of Babylon. I went to Babylon. They were incredulous when they saw them. I had gone to their town hall and their code enforcement. I asked them why our town looks like this and yours doesn't. So what they said is that they have proactive instead of reactive code enforcement. In other words, their code enforcement officers could go around, and if they see something, they could do something about it. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, those pictures. I went to Silo. You had them on your channel 18. That's the people who are handicapped. You tell me how a wheelchair is going to get through those houses, those houses with the cars on the sidewalks like that. That's deplorable. This is ridiculous. I don't know how you could stand sitting there and worrying about airports and building big buildings and all this other stuff. We're paving over everything. And you cut down the trees in the park. You know, there's other living things on this planet besides us. And the last thing you want to do right now, the way the climate is cut down any trees. You hear what I'm saying? Now, let's see. Now, I got a call while I was at Silo from one of your code enforcement people who wanted the addresses to those houses before they could do anything. I went out there at night and I called your public safety and said there's 21 cars parked on a sidewalk on Brightside. Am I supposed to go out there with a flashlight at night? And people, you know, I don't have a gun or anything. Your public safety officers must be equipped to do this. I really don't get it. These are single-family houses. I got a car in the garage. That's the latest invention, you know, putting your car in the garage. They got cars all over the lawn. This is like blatant, egregious behavior. You know, if you think I'm some spoiled brat or something who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and is complaining, in here are our eviction papers in 1965. We didn't call our relatives in France and Germany to come over and fill up our houses with people so that we could afford to live there. We got thrown out on the street, okay? This town is gone.
Thank you, sir. Debbie Kavanaugh.
Good evening. I want to talk about the Farrell project, which is now the Fairfield project. Farrell was charged to put in a garden, and for 2 years now, sitting next to the Farrell project is about 30 pine trees.
Debbie, could you please speak into the microphone? It's hard to hear you.
The Farrell project was, part of their project was to put in a garden, and right next to their buildings is about 30 pine trees. They've been sitting there for 2 years in root balls showing. They need to be planted before they die, so I'm asking that our Commissioner of Planning addresses, I now guess Fairfield, since Fairfield took over Farrell Community, and get that project done. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Pat?
Okay, I just have here 3 documents which you all were given via email. The one is a document, and I would like to have these put on the record for anybody that wishes to foil for them to see. It's a question of the vehicle that you, Ms. Carpenter, use. It's a town vehicle. It's registered to the town. But the foil I got says there is no proof of insurance for that vehicle. I'm just wondering how that's working out. Another is, and this here documents, if anybody wants to foil for them, I have to disagree totally with the controller here because ISLIP did get that American Rescue Plan Act. And Newsday did put the article. A lot of towns were using it for sidewalk construction, stormwater drains, pickleball courts, and other park improvements, ranging from road work to local nonprofits. And ISLIP still, you know, they have a lot of money left out of everybody, but yet bonds have been taken out over, let's see, we're up to $118 million that the taxpayers have to pay back when some of these bonds you took out were actually what could have been used by that federal Rescue Plan Act there. Then the other one is, again, the corner of Timber Point Road and Campbell Lane. It seems that DPW and or the town board here cannot understand or don't want to understand this shrubbery is on town property and needs to be tended to. On this corner here, you have bamboo shoots. What they did was they took a chainsaw, the town, and went across it. So now all the shoots are sticking up. So if anybody's going down Timber Point, which is, by the way, also has an elementary school, a lot of parents walking children, a lot of children on bicycles. This is like a torture chamber here with all the chutes up. Somebody falls over, they're either seriously hurt or they'll be killed. You have all the bushes, you can't see, and you're violating your own codes. You even had, here, 68-404. obstruction to motorist sites. I don't get it. And then you know the one where the park ranger blew the stop sign because you can't see him coming. We know that. We have bicyclists and islip, all you put in to control bamboo. So,
Thank you. Next speaker, Greg. Thank you.
Greg Islip, resident. I'd like to bring up the point being we're on finance and tax season now is approaching the second half. Mr. Ludwig, along with the supervisor back in December, mentioned that with the ambulance districts now charging residents a user fee, that this would bring that tax line down, okay? And like I mentioned last month, my concern was never received any answer. Maybe we have Mr. Ludwig here now. He can follow up on this. Why did that line now on my tax bill double? It actually, from 1.6% increase from last year, now it's up to 3.5. So it more than doubled in 1 year. So if you're getting revenue from billing the people, plus the taxes we pay on this tax line, and you're modeling the Huntington example where it drove that line down, why is ours going up? Okay, you're bringing in more revenue on the billing end than you are on the tax end, and yet you're still increasing the taxes on us on this line. Something's not right with that picture. Secondly, this COVID relief money that you received back in 2020, why wasn't it used to offset some of these nonprofit ambulance districts, Angie? Why couldn't you use the money to help those people out rather than burdening us taxpayers and billing us now through Medicare and insurance, plus the tax levy we pay on our tax line for these ambulance districts? Okay? So maybe you could have Joe come back up and explain after I'm done why such a drastic increase on my tax line, that it doubled in 1 year. I could see if it stayed status quo, or maybe a reduction of a few bucks or a percentage downward, but didn't increase 3.5%, okay? I told you this last month. I said, numbers don't lie, okay? So what's driving this line to go up? Now, there's 52 seconds left. I have a few more seconds, Angie. But I don't think you're going to even bother having Joe answer it, right? I mean, this is a major concern, okay? You want another 4 years, I imagine, right, in that seat. And yet you're driving tax lines up. You're getting this money from the federal government. You're bonding us where future generations are going to be paying these projects off if we're not bankrupt totally by that time. So, I mean, we need a change. We drastically need a change. We put in FOILs. We don't get anything back on the FOIL request that we put in. There's supposed to be every month a amount given how much billing revenue is being taken in. It should be furnished by the third-party billing company. No documentation to be found.
Thank you, Mr. Pepe. You've been here consistently, I think, the last 3 months on this topic of the ambulance district. And, you know, there's an old saying, a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. I'm going to ask Mr. Ludwig to come forward. And for, I don't know how many times we've gone over this, Joe, but and if you could just address, I thought I heard you say that we could not bond something and use ARPA money for something that is supposed to be bonded. or that we went ahead and bonded when we had ARPA money. That wasn't the case. When did we get the ARPA money?
We got the ARPA money in 2 tranches, as they called it. The first one was in August of 21. The second one was in August of 22.
Okay, so that's the first thing. 21 and 22, we did not get the money in 20, because I think that was what Mr. Pepe said. So if you could please address that and his comments about the ambulance billing, which I thought we had put to bed, so to speak.
So I'm going to start with the ambulance billing first, because I think that's going to be the slightly easier one. And I am going to have to double check, because that's why it took me a little time to get up here. I saw Greg's bills, so I'm going to have to find out why his district went up. The long-term goal is that we have to allow the ambulance districts to kind of amass, it's the wrong term. For a great many years, the ambulance districts, different than fire districts, have needed us to give them the funds to get the things they need. Because we're dealing with property taxes and those types of issues, we don't always give them what they need. So right now, they're using this insurance billing to kind of refill their stock, if you would. Buying ambulances out of that instead of having to borrow and pay them off a note over 5 years. So the intent and the expectation is that it's going to take a couple of years for the ambulance districts to get to a point where we can start to reduce the levy. I would not expect the levy to get cut for Greg's district this year, but potentially for the 25 budget, I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see reductions there. Again, CI Hauppauge is our oldest and longest district who's been doing this. We're expecting to start to see the reductions in their request in this year's, so for the 24 budget. So there is a time that has to get built up before you start to see the positive change. So just bear with us, I should say, on that one. As far as the ARPA stuff and not using it instead of borrowing, or borrowing and not using it, as I said, despite what other townships may have done or not have done, as we went through it, we went to the low-hanging fruit first. The projects we've done were not included in any capital budget yet anyway. I did mention we did not borrow for paving, for drainage this year, because we're going to use the ARPA funds. So we are starting to go towards that route. They are 2 different pots of money. They can be used, not interchangeably, but collectively. Again, we have a resolution on today for the tennis courts and pickleball courts over at Sayville. We're using bonded money, and we're using ARPA funds to complete the project. That's what the money is intended for. Like I said, we kind of handled all the low-hanging fruit, the easy projects to pick off. Now we're going into some of the more in-depth, more that have more that technical aspect to it. So there will be more projects coming before the board. The one thing that I've heard repeatedly, not just today, but in the course of the last several years, is that our children's children are going to be paying for the debt service. Let it be understood right now, as a general rule, the town of Islip pays its debt service off in 14 years. We've gone as high as 16, we've gone as low as 13. As a basic rule, though, 14 years. And that is it. We cannot extend that life of that debt. Even if we refinance it, it still must be paid off within that 14-year time frame. There is no way around that. So debt is not being paid off by our children's grandchildren. It will be paid off 14 years, give or take, from the day we borrow it.
And there is a school of thought that when a project has a useful life of, say 20 years, to pay as you go, so to speak, pay it all up front in cash, when people down the road, 5, 10, 20 years, are going to be having the benefit of whatever that project is. It spreads the cost of the project over all of the users over the years.
Correct. It's basically, it smooths the debt service so that we are being consistent, makes my life simple when it comes to budgeting. But again, the users of it 14 years down the road that are contributing to it, they're the ones who are paying the taxes to pay down that debt service.
And I think it's also important for everyone, and I know this town board has been so supportive and helped us get there, but when my administration began in 2015, we, with a couple of very conservative policies, were able to, the following year, get the bond rating raised to AAA, stable outlook, the highest a municipality can have. It has been reaffirmed each and every year because the policies implemented by the town board. And that's very important. And when you talk about indebtedness, our percentage of debt is 5.85%, if I have the number correct, of what would be allowable by best practice, by,
I'm going to correct you because it's not best practice. So the way state law reads is you take the average of the last 5 years taxable assessed valuation, and the maximum authority that a municipality can have is we can issue 7% of that number in debt. Of that 7%, we have used just around less than 6%, or call it 6%. We have used 6% of the 100% we could use. So while we can talk about our debt service has grown, and it has because everything has gotten more expensive, we are still way under any potential of having too much debt that we won't be able to afford that debt service. Like I said, we're at 6% of our capacity.
and if we didn't employ these conservative practices, the rating agencies would not consistently reaffirm our high bond ratings.
Correct.
It just doesn't work that way.
Not to pick on our fellow municipalities, but there's a municipality to the west whose initials begin OB. I'll let you figure out who that is. And I don't know what their cap is, but their debt service number was close to $600 million at one point. And they were in triple B and single A. Their rating was significantly less than ours. They have paid some debt service off, cleaned their house, and they brought themselves back up. But we're not even remotely close to having too high of a debt burden.
Okay, we don't want to belabor this, but
I could do this all
again,
day.
thank you for being so conservative. Thank you for, being willing to be so transparent. Any questions or comments? Thanks, Joe. And hopefully this answers everything everybody wanted to know about ambulance billing forever. All right, our next speaker is Marty Bornstein.
I'm here to speak for Catherine Andreo, who lives at 332 Shore Drive in Oakdale. Basically, we got a letter on our door stating that they want us to close up the house and make it look like a, what do you call it, Section 8, like they want us to put plywood walls all over the house, close up the windows, paint it gray, call it a day. My house ain't looking so, it's not my house, it's my significant other's, in which I've been paying the bills for the last 20 years. We are working on we've got plans to redo the house between the hurricane, between COVID, between timing, just not working out. So the neighbor, whoever it is, it doesn't matter, I guess made a complaint, and we're willing to address it, okay? But I don't want to make the house look like, it's, I don't know the word, shanty town. We have plans, we're going to get to it. The fire marshal left us a thing to do. We did it, maybe not to his exact specifications. We closed up the house. Nobody hangs out at the house. It's not like a kid's hangout. Maybe there's one or two more things we might need to do. We will address it. We will take care of it. And we will get to rebuilding the house and make it nice for the neighbors along with ourselves.
Okay.
That's all I got.
All right, thank you. I know that board up is on the agenda, and we'll discuss it when it comes forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Roy Reynolds.
Howdy. My name is Roy Reynolds. I'm actually from Brookhaven Town.
Welcome.
I did work in Islip for 40 years, so I know the area. I'm working with a group of concerned citizens here in Nassau and Suffolk counties. Several from our group are here today. And we are giving this presentation to all towns and cities in Nassau and Suffolk counties. We are involved with voting integrity, especially the voting rolls. It is our goal today to raise your awareness of voting irregularities in New York State. I ask for your help. Recently, the New York State voter rolls were reviewed, also known as New York State Voter Database, which of course includes residents of Islip and Suffolk County. The voter rolls are supposed to be an accurate list of people who are eligible to vote. In 2021, a copy of the New York State Voter Database was obtained and reviewed for accuracy and integrity. The data came from New York State Board of Elections, the county voter rolls, and New York State Secretary of State. Anyone here can obtain the voter database from the state and confirm our findings if you foil the information. There are over 21 million records between 3 and 4 terabytes of data. Okay, you should have received this report today. We dropped it off. I don't know if it made its way to the board, but it should shortly. The report. You should have received a copy of the report. Like I said, the report is a result of an analysis of the voter database. The report is known as a deficits report and has found serious inconsistencies in the voter rolls.
Excuse me, what did you say it's known as?
Deficits report.
Deficits?
Deficit.
Oh, deficit. Okay, thank you.
Am I going to time?
No.
Yes. All right.
You got another 5 seconds.
Now, the report is known as the deficits report and has found serious inconsistencies in the voter rolls. This affects residents of Islip and all of New York State. The voter rolls are not accurate, and unqualified voters are voting, and the number of votes are not equaling the number of voters who vote. An example, for the 2020 general election, the report found over 338,000 more votes were cast than voters who actually voted. There were over 740,000 ineligible votes cast statewide. Over 2.4 million New York State voter ID numbers were assigned to less than 1.2 million registrants. These 2.4 million registrants are known as clone voters, which have multiple ID numbers and can vote, and have, in some cases have voted multiple times in the same election. These are not duplicate voters. We have knocked on hundreds of doors and confirmed the existence of clone voters. Clone voters have been found in Islip counties and throughout the state. Corrupted voter rolls open the door for fraud. Okay, I'm going to run out of time. All right? The deficit report concluded that a full end-to-end audit by professionals is warranted. To this end, we could use your support. In the upcoming weeks, a resolution will be submitted for your consideration, calling for a statewide audit of the New York State voter database. The voter rolls have been compromised. They need to be corrected. We need your help. Okay, thank you very much. And one of my colleagues is here, Patrick. Maybe he'll follow up. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question. Have you taken this presentation to the Suffolk County Legislature, since they oversee the Board of Elections in the county and Nassau County Legislature?
It was brought to them, I believe, last year. Okay? But no, we haven't been to them this year. All right? We have been to the State Board of Elections. And we met with disbelief, dismay, and dismissal all together. So,
Well, the county has a legislative body that meets regularly, has a public portion, has a Ways and Means Committee that I believe oversees the Board of Elections. So you could speak in the, general session of the legislature and also in the committee and bring this to their attention.
we will. Definitely will.
Thank you.
Bottom up. Top down didn't work. Thank you.
Let me see. Patrick Wynn?
Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Wynn. Though I am not a citizen of Islip, I do live in the nearby town of Smithtown, and my concern affects all of us who live in Suffolk County and Long Island, as well as New York State. Like Roy, I am also a citizen volunteer, and as such, we have spent our own time and expense learning about the many discrepancies that exist in the voter rolls of our counties and state. I'd like to take a minute to inform you about one of these sets of data that I have become familiar with, known as clone voters. To vote more than once, only two things are needed: an additional State Board of Election ID and a source voter to which the SBOE ID can be attached to. We have categorized these clone voters into 4 types: change of address, married name, exact match, and modified spelling. The type of clone we have found in Suffolk County, including the town of Islip, or the modified spelling clone. Modified spelling clones are exact matches to voters already in the voter rolls with respect to address and date of birth, with one exception. The spelling of the name is modified. These modifications are subtle, sometimes changing just a single letter, and appear to be driven by an automated software-driven process. The modifications we have found in Suffolk County, including the town of Islip, occurs where voters' names are transposed, substituting the first name for the last name, and the last name for the first name, then adding or deleting a middle initial. These modifications in name are then attached to a unique State Board of Election ID number and allow for an additional vote to be cast, in most cases unknown to the original source voter. The latest information we have received reveals that there are 2.4 million State Board of Election IDs attached to only 1.2 million registered voters. Recently, there have been some doubts cast about the data we have gathered, and that it has been stated that no one, including the press, have been privy to this data. The agency that provided the data is the New York State Board of Elections via a FOIA request. They are the ones that have cast doubts about the information they provided us with. This alone would be reason enough for an audit. Should the press be interested enough to pursue the truth regarding these matters, they too may obtain this information via a FOIA request. It would be interesting to see whether or not their data match the data we received. What I have touched on here is a brief summary of our findings, but it is enough to question whether the authority and consent of the people of this state, referred to by Alexander Hamilton in Federalist Paper number 16 as the natural guardians of the Constitution, which are guaranteed a Republican form of government by Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution, has been usurped. And it is why we must insist that the resolution your town board will be presented with in a few weeks, calling for an end-to-end audit of the 2022 general election for both paper and electronic records.
Thank you. Okay, we have no other speakers. We have a motion to close public portion. Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Guardron. All those in favor? Opposed? Public portion is closed. All right, let us move then to the agenda. First being the meeting of the Town of Islip Industrial Development Agency. Make a motion to convene.
Second.
Second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Meeting is convened. Quorum is present. John, good to see you.
Thank you, Madam
At the
Chair.
end of the day. Haven't
Evening.
seen you in the beginning of the day.
Yes. Good evening, and thank you again, members of the agency board. John Walzer, Executive Director, 40 Nassau Avenue, Islip, New York. 72 items for your consideration this evening. The first item is to approve the minutes from our last board meeting on March 28th this year.
Any questions on the minutes? Motion by Councilman Guardron, second. Second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Thank you very much. The next item for your consideration is an amended authorizing resolution between the agency and Galil Importing at 21 Newton Place in Hauppauge. So this is a project we've already authorized. This amendment to the authorizing resolution just clarifies the ownership interest of the principals of the company.
Any questions? Motion by Councilman Cochran, second. By Councilman Guardron. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved.
Okay, thank you. And the last item I have for your consideration is an inducement resolution between the agency and Water Lilies Foods. This is a 250 Creative Drive in Central Islip. This project will represent the second location in the town for this manufacturer of Asian-inspired foods. This project represents a $23 million capital investment and the creation of 300 new jobs.
Any questions?
Just one. John, we went over this during the briefing. So we had previously induced for Water Lilies, but that deal didn't close.
Correct. So
that inducement that we had previously done for this same entity, since the deal didn't close, resolution becomes a nullity.
Correct.
So now they found a new location, and this is now a new inducement. Same organization,
Correct.
They'll maintain part of their facility at the old Entenmann site, but this is now a second site for them in the Central Islip Research.
Yeah, they currently are at the old Entenmann site, 1724 Fifth Avenue in Bayshore. We previously authorized an expansion at that facility, but, you know, for reasons between the company and the landlord, that they're not moving ahead with it. You know, we did our part to authorize assistance through the IDA, but, you know, that project's just not moving forward, so it is what it is. But they do still want to expand, and luckily for us, they do want to expand here in the town of Islip at 250 Creative Drive in Central Islip.
With 300 additional jobs.
That's correct.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Guardrone, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
That's all I have for you this evening.
And that's it. Motion to adjourn by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor, opposed, we stand adjourned and move to item 2 on the agenda, and that are the Board of Cleanup resolutions. Jeff?
Madam Supervisor, members of the Town Board and the Town Clerk, Jeffrey Panacci, Assistant Attorney, 5 Main Street, Islip, New York. I did have 2 matters on for your consideration here this evening. However, number 1 has been withdrawn as it is now in compliance.
That seems to be on every other month. It's on, it's withdrawn.
Right, that is correct. It does have a history.
It has a history, and it's right around the corner.
But I'm pleased to report that it is found to be in compliance, so I'm not going to ask.
Is the house vacant?
I believe it is, yes.
It's a lovely neighborhood with a gorgeous park down the block. You would think.
New park.
A brand-new park down the block, thanks to ARPA.
Just need regulation-sized pickleball nets. Mr.
Oh,
Commissioner.
please.
Can't play pickleball on tennis nets, but that's okay.
Anyway, that has been withdrawn, and we move to item 2, 332 Shore Drive, which was the subject of discussion with the gentleman that was up here a little bit ago. And I would assume that you've met with him?
I did speak to him over the telephone approximately a half hour before the meeting began. I also spoke with the named owner of record over the phone. I believe what Mr. Bornstein did want to bring to the board's consideration is that they're asking for additional time. She is asking for additional time. She does understand, I made her aware of the process with regard to the resolutions. She does understand that there will be a vote, and potentially the board could vote to board up this property via a resolution this evening. However, she did indicate she's out of state now. She will be back at the beginning of May, and she just was hopeful that the board might consider giving her a little bit of time, regardless of the vote here tonight, to take care of the matter on her own, rather than having it after its action.
So just similar to what we've done before, vote tonight on the board up and cleanup, but give the applicant 30 days before we act on the board up and cleanup.
Yes.
Yep.
I'd make that motion.
Can I ask
Okay.
a question?
Certainly.
How long has this been like this?
It's my understanding that it's been like this for a significant period of time. I don't know exactly how long.
So how many times do the neighbors have to look at this house until someone boards it up and we act on it? We're going to give them 30 more days so they can look at this house? It's
Right,
a beautiful neighborhood down there.
I did explain to her that obviously it's not my call. I wouldn't be the person that would present that to the board. I know Mr. Bornstein probably didn't relay what her interests were. I did have an opportunity to speak with her, so I just wanted to let the board know that. And obviously, it's up to the board.
But she's away. She's not looking at this dwelling every day.
Right. She's away for the time being. She did say she would be back in May, but she's currently out of state.
So this has been since Hurricane Sandy looked like this?
It's my understanding, I believe so.
Do they have a contract for a contractor?
There is some wrapping on the house, so there was some work done at some point.
Oh, ripped up.
It's falling.
Right, she had
Board
said,
up.
she did indicate that she was hoping to do more work when she got back, but obviously,
In 30 days, you can't do that. Come on, common sense. There's no way.
Well, Councilman O'Connor made a motion to,
Go ahead.
well, you know, if it's been going on like this a number of years, the councilman that lives in the area, I just asked if it's a home that you're familiar with. Is it one of these houses that you pass like Patchogue, where you go, oh my God, we've got to do something about it? Or is it something that, like
It is
Part D?
It's on the water.
Yeah, it's on shoreline. I had initially made a motion out of a courtesy to a homeowner that, or actually a representative of a homeowner that showed up tonight. It's consistent with other motions that we've made on these types of applications. But I'm happy to withdraw the motion if my colleagues feel strong enough about it that this should move forward tonight. I don't disagree with what they've said, which is this has gone on for a long time. It takes the town a great deal of time before it gets before this town board. So I understand that. And if my colleagues feel strongly about it, I'll withdraw the motion. I made the motion because it is consistent with other motions that we have seen when residents have come before us asking for 30 more days.
But also, the motion was to go forward with the board up, but to give them that 30 days.
And the reason why we have done
So
that
then
in the
it's-
past, the reason why we've done that in the past is because there is a cost associated with advertising for these board ups and cleanups, and we don't want to renotice it. We want to move the motion forward tonight and give them time. If my colleagues, again, feel strong enough about it that they don't want to give any more time, I'll withdraw the motion.
To give them 30 days? Well, I don't know if I'm being a softie or what, but I just think that if we're approving the board up, it takes us time to get there. They're not going to be there tomorrow with the boards and the hammers and nails boarding this place up. It's going to take time. So in the interest of, being compassionate, giving them an opportunity to make it right themselves and not have someone else do it, I would support giving them 30 days, but with the understanding that we are approving that board-up resolution now, but delaying the implementation for 30 days.
What's 30 days, though? They can't even, no disrespect to anyone on the board, but they can't even get windows in 30 days in a house right now. So there's no...
The resolution, I believe, Jeff, this is where we need your help, similar to Party, which I drove by this weekend. The resolution calls for the owner to secure and board up and makes the property safe. Not to complete the construction, but to make it safe, and that's why the steps that I understood that Party took to get it withdrawn from today. So if the owner, within the 30 days, secures the property, gets it to the fire marshal standards, so that your normal routine that you go through, which is open entrances, failure to provide a safe area, if they address those issues, then they can withdraw it from the board up and cleanup resolution, correct?
That's correct, and SIPCO would not have any of the work to do themselves, which has happened in the past, regardless of whether or not the board has granted the extension. When the workers arrive at the property, if it's in a certain condition, they will relay that, and then potentially it wouldn't be attached to the tax bill if they've taken care of it themselves. But I didn't make her any promises, I can assure you of that. I told her, obviously, up to the board, so.
She's not, you stated she's not going to be coming back until, or the homeowner's not coming back until May, right?
She represented to me on the phone that she would be back in early May.
It's 15 days right there, plus, whatever.
Well, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right, opposed?
You're opposed? Okay, so 3 in favor, 2 opposed. It is approved, with the understanding they have a 30-day extension. Okay, item number 3, the appropriation transfers. Are there any questions? Hearing none, motion? Motion by Councilman O'Connor. Second by Councilman Guardone. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 4, the bid awards. Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Cochran. Second by Councilman Guardone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Option year resolutions. Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Cochran. Second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 6, authorization for supervisor to enter into an agreement with BOCES to participate in the Joint Municipal Cooperative Purchasing Program. Any questions? Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 7, authorization for supervisor to enter into agreement with United Fence and Guardrail Corp. for DPW 3-2023, modernization of guardrail. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Cochran. Second by Councilman Guardone. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next item, authorization for supervisor to enter into agreement with L.K. McLean for engineering and construction monitoring services. Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Lorenzo, second by Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Item 9, Town Board acceptance of funds from National Grid to compensate the Department of Public Works in regards to the 2022 Islip Gas Main Replacement Project. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 10, Town Board acceptance of funds from National Grid to compensate the Department of Public Works in connection with the 22 Bay Shore Gas Main Replacement Project. Any questions? Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guardone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. 11 is the Town Board acceptance of funds from Grid to compensate DPW in connection with the 22 Oakdale Gas Main Replacement Project. Questions? Hearing none. Motion, Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. 12, authorization for the town clerk to advertise for a public hearing to consider changing the official map of the town of Islip by deleting a portion of Cherokee Street. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Guadrone, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 13, authorization for the town clerk to advertise for public hearing to consider changing the official map of the town of Islip by deleting a portion of Cherokee Street. There were two kind of sections. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Guadrone, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 14, Town Board acceptance of turkeys and various grocery items from Islip Food for Hope to be used for the 23 Thanksgiving Basket Program. Any questions? Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 15, Town Board acceptance of a donation of approximately 200 influenza vaccines from Catholic Health Good Samaritan University Hospital to be offered to the town of Islip seniors at the annual Senior Health Fair. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Guadrone, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 16, authorization for supervisor to enter into an agreement with S&S Amusements, Inc. to provide a 4-day carnival. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 17, authorization for the supervisor to apply for and accept reimbursement funding for expenses deemed eligible resulting for the response and recovery efforts from Winter Storm Elliott in December of '22. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Guadrone, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 18, authorization for supervisor to execute any and all documents in order to effectuate the assumption of an existing note mortgage held by the town. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 19, authorization for town clerk to advertise for public hearing to consider amending the town of Islip Uniform Traffic Code. I'll make that motion. Second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 20, authorization for the supervisor to enter into a contract with Waterside Contracting Corp., Inc. for DPW 7-23 Fair Harbor Ferry Dock Emergency Improvements. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 21, authorization for the supervisor to enter into a license agreement with the Session Stand. Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed, one recusal, 4 in favor. It is approved. Item 22, authorization for the supervisor to enter into an information sharing agreement with FEMA for the purpose of floodplain management. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor? Opposed, it is approved. Item 23, authorization for supervisor to apply for and accept grant funding through round 21 of the Suffolk County Downtown Revitalization Program. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Guadrone, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 24, authorization for supervisor to execute an amendment to the professional services agreement with DY Consultants in connection with an environmental assessment for runway 18-36. Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Lorenzo, second.
Second.
By Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 25, the special events, again, parades, et cetera. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Cochran, second. By Councilman Guardione. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Item 26, authorization for the supervisor to execute any and all documentation required to apply for and accept grant funding from the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York to purchase and install turf at Country Village Park. Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second. By Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 27, authorization for supervisor to execute a professional services agreement with Nelson and Pope to assess existing building systems and conditions in the auditorium at Town Hall West. Hallelujah. Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Lorenzo, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 28, authorization for town clerk to advertise for public hearing to transfer property located at 29 Church Street, Central Islip, under the Town of Islip's CDA's direct sale affordable housing program. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion? Motion by Councilman Guardone, second. Second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 29, authorization for the supervisor to execute an access agreement permitting the New York State DEC and the USACE to assess certain real property owned by the Town of Islip. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion? Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 30, authorization for supervisor to enter into an agreement with Suffolk County Community College to provide Spanish language instruction to town employees. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion? Motion by Councilman Lorenzo, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 31, Town Board authorization for use of SLFR funds, ARPA funds, for the purpose of improving the Broadway Avenue tennis pickleball courts. Is everyone listening out there? Your pickleball courts are coming. Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Lorenzo. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 32, appointment of Michael P. Walsh to the position of Town Attorney. I'll make that motion. Do I have a second? Second. A collective second by all. All in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
The pressure's on.
Congratulations and thank you.
You get the big
And
office now.
item 33, appointment of Brad Wilson as a member to the Board of Assessment Review.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. And item 34, authorization for the supervisor to execute any and all documents in connection with the sale and development of 3 parcels located at Denver Avenue in Bay Shore. Is there a motion? Is there a question? A motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved unanimously. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I think that's it. Motion